Hello readers. Let me start with an apology. I had hoped that in this video I could talk about the opening 100 pages of the book. However, the more and more I mused, the more and more I felt I needed to consider the book as a whole. The more and more I found that if I was preoccupied by any aspect of it, it was the ending. So from this point onwards, if you're halfway through, if you haven't picked the book up yet, I'd stop watching. If you're a UK subscriber, you still have a chance to try and win a copy on my previous video. Just click here to go do that. And of course you can save this video to your favourites and watch it post-reading. So what I want to talk about in this video is books within books. Within The Fault in Our Stars we are presented with two fictional books. The Price of Dawn and all its subsequent sequels, as well as Peter Van Houten's magnum opus, An Imperial Affliction. On the surface of things, these two books are as different as you could possibly find. As my beloved but unfortunately forgotten quotee once said, there are two kinds of books. Books that help you endure life and books that allow you to escape it. And these books found in The Fault in Our Stars pretty much perfectly represent those two types of book. An Imperial Affliction is literature. It is, as Angus Waters would say, a capital G great book. The counterinsurgency series are definitely pop lit, the kind of books that would come out straight away in mass market paperbacks. Yet, despite seeming to be such different books, they have one notable aspect in common, that neither really have endings. An Imperial Affliction ends mid-sentence, and forever taunts our protagonists as to what happens next. And from the bookmark Hazel found after Augustus's death, we know that he never finished the 9th novel in this counterinsurgency series. And there is an idea that even if he did, it wouldn't matter. There would always be a countless stream of sequels. So apart from spending a good amount of my reading time worrying that John would do a Van Houten and end in the middle of a... It prompted me to consider when it is that stories end. In Hayden White's The Content of Form, as a quick aside, don't grey books with titles like The Content of Form look so exciting. Hayden White considers the use of narrative by historians, and how some historians differ from their literary counterparts by shunning the tropes of storytelling, that is, beginnings, middles and ends. But to consider endings specifically here, what should that ending be? What signifies that ending is here? When the protagonist dies? An Imperial Affliction clearly shows that this is not enough for Hazel and Angus at least. They long to know what happened to the other characters, to Anna's mother, to the Dutch tulip man, to Sisyphus the hamster. Similarly, when considering Max Mayhem, Hazel knows that even if he dies, the war effort will go on without him. There could and would be sequels starring his cohorts. They're the kind of thoughts that move past the modern-day cult of individualism, and instead consider people in the context of their communities. People are unescapably part of communities. Of families, of soldiers, of artists, of human beings. The fact that we interact with these people and that we are one of their many means that the story isn't over, even if we are. The other thing that struck me was how the placement of endings so often colour the entire character of the book. A book is happy or sad dependent on when the ending comes. I don't know if any of you have read Rahinthan Mysteries' A Fine Balance. If that book taught me anything, it was the persistence of humanity as a whole. The story is a constant oscillation between the happy and the horrific. Yet after every trauma, each seemingly worse than the last, the characters pick themselves up, and they start to rebuild from the wreckage. Reading it, I just thought that the ending could be placed after any one of these events, or any one of these recoveries, and the story would have taken on a completely different colour, depending on whether it was a peak or trough chosen. So if we consider time to be a continuous stream, and endings arbitrarily placed by the authors, what does the ending of The Fault in Our Stars want to tell us? Is The Fault in Our Stars an unhappy book because it ends after Augustus dies? I guess there's definitely a part of me that wished the ending could have come sooner, but then the world is not a wish-granting factory. You want him to draw the curtain on a happy peak. He shows us Augustus Waters degrade. He doesn't die quickly or heroically, he dies realistically, his dignity stripped away piece by piece. Many of us, as Hazel seems to urge us to, as she talks about oblivion, try to ignore these troughs of life. But I think the very reason for John's books is we can't forever keep ignoring these things we fear. Not completely, at least. He gives us a place to explore them in the fiction he writes, so that when they eventually catch up with us, hopefully we will find some way of coping. What does the ending of The Fault in Our Stars present us with? Yes, it's a sad ending. But we shouldn't let that colour the entire book for us. It's a book of peaks and troughs, as life is. We read Augustus's eulogy for Hazel, and it changes what previous notion the book presented us with. It adds to it. The book said, "It is the fault in our stars. It is fated that we will receive pain and hurt." But Augustus adds to it, "We may not have the ability to prevent hurt, but we can choose who it is that hurts us." He chose the pain that she might have been in his life, and she chose the pain that he was in hers. For both of them, that choice was worth it.